Hi everyone, this is Yana Smakula, and thanks for joining me. If you have been a follower of mine for some time, you know that I love to use small stamps to create my own unique custom stamped patterns. And yes, there are all sorts of pattern papers out there that one can use for a card, but I think it's super fun to be able to make a custom pattern yourself. You can pick the colors that you like and you can stretch the use of the stamps that you have. So it's a win-win in my book. Today I'm going to use two small surfboard images from the Surf's Up stamp set from Simon Says Stamp. This is a new set. I've already made a card with this stamped pattern, and here you can see it on screen. And everything you see on this card was stamped and colored. So the pattern in the background, the palm tree, the umbrella, and the seagull. It's not hard to make this pattern at all. A few good tools will help you easily create it using these or any other stamps that you might choose to use. Now, this is a linear pattern. In other words, the surfboards are stamped more or less precisely on the background. The image placement is not random at all. To create this linear and non-random look, I like to use a clear block with a grid to help me align and stamp images perfectly. I also often use the grid on my cutting mat to align it with the grid on my clear block for even more precise placement. Today I'm using a long clear block with an etched grid, and this helps me to make sure that my stamping goes on a straight line. I start in the center and then I work my way out, first to the right and next to the left. Once the first row is stamped, it becomes much easier to align and stamp the rest of the images, as for this particular pattern, the images sort of nestle inside each other, so it's just a matter of inking up and stamping these first boards. By the way, notice that I rotated my clear block for my rows above and below the first row, and I'm stamping images upside down. And I'll keep rotating my clear block to alternate the image directionality. Another thing to note, I'm not using my stamp positioner tool. So I'm only using my clear block, and I do feel that it takes much less time if you use a clear block versus a stamp positioning tool. I'm using Simon's Intense Black ink, as this is Copic marker friendly ink, and I will be coloring these images using my Copic markers. And I'm also doing my stamping on Neenah Solar White 80-pound cardstock. The Surf's Up stamp set, the one where these surfboards come from, features a number of fun summer images, and I've already shared one video and a few cards created using it over on my blog and YouTube channel, and I'll link to that video in a card on a YouTube here so that you can check it out. And there's also a link in my video description. So be sure to check it out once you finish watching this one if you'd like to see more inspiration. Once my stamped pattern is finished, I'm going to start coloring. By the way, notice how my stamping went outside the edge. This created the illusion that this paper was cut out from a larger pattern paper sheet. It's a super easy but very effective trick. I'm going to use a handful of markers to do my coloring, and as always, I'm going with my most used color combos. I'm going to have my surfboards colored in 4 different colors: green, teal, pink, and yellow. It's just a fun summer color variety. You can color yours however you like. You can make them all one color or all completely different colors. And that's the beauty of this pattern stamping. You are the boss of your pattern and you decide what colors you want to use to color it. And you can also decide what coloring medium you'd like to play with. Maybe you don't want to color these with Copic markers, but instead you'd like to color these with watercolors or colored pencils. It's completely up to you. By the way, I also think that these stamped patterns are like coloring books. I make my own coloring page and then I just go ahead and color it however I like. So it's a nice, relaxing activity for me. So the Copic marker colors that I'm using are YG67, YG17, and YG25 to color the green surfboards, BG18, 15, and 32 to color the teal surfboards, RV14, 13, and 11 to color the pink boards, and finally Y35, Y13, and Y11 to color the yellow boards. Coloring is the most time-consuming part of this process, but I do love to color. So this is pleasant and relaxing for me. I don't feel like I'm spending a ton of time doing this, even though I am spending a lot of time coloring this background pattern. Once my coloring is done, I'm going to use a cool gray C1 marker to add a light shadow to each of the boards to create some faux dimension here. It's very easy to achieve using a gray marker. You simply outline each image and you're done. If you want to go crazy here, you can think of your light source and create direction to your shadow, meaning you can add a heavier shadow on one side and no to little shadow on the other side. I'm all about making simple and easy to replicate cards, so my shadow is the most common and the most easy to create kind of shadow here. The next step in this pattern making is adding some shimmer. I want each of the surfboards to have a nice shimmery coating to it, so I'm using my Tonic Studios Aqua Shimmer pen to color over each of the surfboards. One thing to note here, if you like to add white highlights with a white pen, it is actually best to coat with a shimmer pen first and then add those highlights, as I have found that my Tonic Shimmer pen dissolves my white pen. It's not a huge deal, but it's just easy to prevent this from happening if you use a white pen as a final step. And I did do that for my card today. Next, once I have all of the shimmer in the world here, I'm going to use my Glossy Accents to coat some of the surfboards. I'm not going to coat any of the surfboards that are on the edge, as I don't want my Glossy Accents going there or going outside the edge of the card. So I'm only going to coat those boards that are complete and those that are not touching the edge of my card. I think I've coated about 10 or 12 here, so definitely not every single one. I left my background to dry for a few hours. I had a few errands to run, and once I came back, I used my white pen and I added white highlights onto my surfboards. I even painted those highlights directly over the Glossy Accents. I did not know that this could be done, but I learned about it in one of Nicole McGorrick's videos. I was so surprised, as I didn't think it would work, but it did, and the result is just fantastic. So I'll be using this trick a lot in the future. Thanks, Nicole. Finally, I added a simple Surf's Up sentiment panel with a few stamped and colored images, and that finished my card. I hope you enjoyed this card making idea, and we'll give it a try using these or some other small stamp sets from your stash. Be sure to visit my blog for a full list of supplies and more inspiration. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you have any questions, as always, leave them in the comment section below, and be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't yet done so. If you are a subscriber but are not receiving new video notifications, check the bell icon on the homepage of my channel to get notified every time there's a new video. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye!